more guests.
Whomever's got Facebook going, mute it. Okay, here we go. This is Patty Expat Club weekly online meeting. And today we have a special guest and team. I'll let Niels do the full introduction, but it's Dr. Kampon, and he's going to talk to us about a couple of things. One about COVID, two about vaccinations, and finally, we had a bunch of questions that were submitted in advance. People had questions about the rollout of vaccines here and a few other questions that he has, and he will answer those as well. And that should cover it. And if we have any leftover time, we could do any quick announcements or anything like that. See if, for instance, Casa Pascal is open for our brunch on Fridays. Anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Niels for a moment so he can do a proper introduction of his good friend, Dr. Kampon, and we'll get kicked off. Go ahead, Niels.
Thank you very much, Dan. And I would like to thank the team of the Pattaya Expat Club / Rotary Club of Pattaya for setting all this up today and all the preparation that has taken place Zoom event into the foreign community here in Pattaya. There's been so much misinformation and sitting and reading all the postings. It makes your head spin, and I feel very sorry for a lot, especially the expat community here in Pattaya and elsewhere in Thailand, for being subjected to all this misinformation. So we are very lucky today to have Dr. Kampon, who is a medical professional who really have the finger on the pulse when it comes to the COVID crisis and all the things that goes with it. This is a golden opportunity for us here in Pattaya, but also sharing with the rest of the foreign community around Thailand. And what we have done is on the postings promoting this event, we have a link to a registration platform on the website of the Pattaya Expats Club. You can put your name and your email address there. What will happen then is, as soon as vaccination is available, not just talked about, but when it's available concrete, we will inform everyone who have registered and where they have to go, what are their options, how much do they have to pay, is there any opportunity for free vaccines, and all these things we will guide you along and give you service as Pattaya Expat Club and the Rotary always have done for the community. So I would like to pass on the word and the floor here to Dr. Kampon, and I wish you all a great Zoom meeting here with Pattaya Expat Club and the Rotary Club of Pattaya. Thank you very much. Thank you. And please, Dr. Kampon, please come on.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? First of all, I would like to thank Neil
Can't hear you.
Hello?
Yeah. You have to mute the sound.
Okay, I think we're good. You're the
okay.
only one speaking, but you're picking up some feedback from somebody.
From me.
Okay,
From me.
let me start
Mute
again.
yourself, Neil.
Thank you very much for inviting me to share my idea about COVID and COVID vaccine today. I was graduate with a medical degree and PhD in pharmacology from Mahidol University. I was in academic. My last post was the Vice President for Research and Foreign Relations of Mahidol University. At present, I have been retired for more than 20 years now. But I would like to volunteer myself to help Thailand to start moving ahead for travel industry. During the past 15 years, I was involved in so-called medical tourism, as well as wellness tourism. And having said that, COVID-19 has caused a lot of disruption to my medical business. So what I like to do today is to explain a bit in details about what is COVID-19. COVID-19, as we all know, is so-called coronavirus. And coronavirus, this has what we call RNA as the component for making the virus to spread. Right now, we come to the point that it creates infection around the world. That's why we're now facing the area of pandemic. Okay, let's look more closely into the structure of COVID-19. As you can see, the COVID-19 has the membrane called envelope, and around the whole particles, they have so-called spike protein. This spike protein is responsible for spreading of the diseases. In the inner core, it contains RNA particle. Okay, let's make it simple. When the virus starts to infect the human cells, they will use the spike to pierce into cell membrane. And after that, they will start to get into the human cells. By doing so, RNA component of the virus will start to use everything in our body to replicate itself. And then they just start to multiply. The reason that COVID-19 can cause the widespread of diseases because this kind of RNA virus is actually going to be able to mutate very often. The more rapid they can mutate, the more ability it can cause spreading of diseases. Well, COVID-19 and coronavirus is not really new. To start with, coronavirus contains a big family, starting from influenza. And later on, we should recall that we have so-called SARS, MERS, Ebola, and so on. So this COVID-19 will become the mutant of the previous strain. What makes it more dangerous? Because when we're facing with common cold and influenza, we usually have the symptoms within 48 hours after being contact to the viruses. With COVID-19, we can become asymptomatic for maybe a week or even more. That's why when we got contact of this virus, we are able to spread the disease quickly because we don't have symptoms. That's why it causes wider spread of diseases. As we all know, the COVID-19 has the ability to mutate, and then it's going to be difficult for our immune system to prevent the widespread of it. Now, about the vaccine. The vaccine at the beginning, we have a Sinovac, Sinopharm, which are considered to be dead vaccine, that can be effective due to Wuhan strain of spreading. But after the new strain of Indian strain, UK strain, and African strain, the virus starts to mutate. Therefore, it is unlikely that the vaccine like Sinovac and Sinopharm may not be possible to attack against the new strain coming up. So therefore, I would like to continue by explaining a bit more about the word pandemic. In pandemic situation, it means that every country's individual become affected by this virus. And because of the travel and the global community, made it more easy for the virus to spread. Now, having in mind that we start from Thailand, get the first contact from Wuhan, China. Later on, we are also having people from India, from UK, from Africa, coming to visit our part of the world. So it's inevitable that later on, we can start to exchange the new strain of viruses. That make it more difficult to control. Okay, let me start to explain a bit about COVID vaccine. As you know, we have 3 types of COVID vaccine. The first type are considered to be dead vaccine. The example would be Sinovac and Sinopharm. This type of vaccine become conventional method of producing vaccine, starting from influenza vaccine. So usually it's going to happen that when influenza or any virus start to happen, the vaccine can be developed. And later on, you may need to re-immunize it after the first dose because of the ability of reinfection. Now, the newer vaccine will consist of what I call viral vector vaccine, as in the case of AstraZeneca. This viral vector usually consists of adenovirus, which could not cause infection in human. And we are using this safe virus as a vector to increase immunity. Okay, so therefore, the effectiveness of different type of vaccine can be different from the source of vaccine producers. I would like to spend more time on the vaccine that I have studied a lot more. It's called messenger RNA vaccine. Messenger RNA vaccine is more specific to induce the immunity to fight against the spike protein. So the effectiveness of this type of vaccine, if you read about the report elsewhere, it will be effective more than 95% because it is specific to inhibit so-called the spike protein. And with this, when we give only the spike protein as a vaccine to our body, it will consider to be messenger RNA because this messenger RNA will travel into the cytoplasm of human cells, and it will start to produce the spike protein to initiate immunity to fight against viruses. Okay, without spike protein, the virus cannot cause infection and spread the disease. So therefore, I think that this type of vaccine is quite strong and very useful for most of the viral strains that we are facing. Now, this one, you have to understand that the development of vaccine is something quite new. Usually in the past, before we go to produce any vaccine, we have to wait at least for 2 years to be fully success in development of any vaccine. Therefore, because of COVID, and the world really need vaccine. So therefore, World Health Organization and government authority throughout the world agree to use the concept of so-called emergency vaccine. That's why we do not have enough information about the vaccine that we are giving to people. However, I want to reassure you that they will start to work on safety first. Any vaccine to be produced for COVID-19 will undergo what I call safety tests, both in vitro, in vivo, in animal study, and also in human, to understand that the vaccine should not create unacceptable risk. So therefore, we have estimated that any side effect from any vaccine can only occur one every 100,000 population or even less. Now, in general, I would like to suggest that the vaccine can also be expected to be able to provide the vaccine passport for people to be able to travel around the world. So right now, Thailand start to implement so-called vaccine passport. I have to tell you that anything new with our government, it also need to work hard in order to make sure that everyone under the same page. So at present, what I will describe for you today may be changed in the near future because of the problem that may happen by producing the vaccine passport. I'm quite pleased to tell you that the vaccine passport is the initiative of the Thai government to start to provide to both Thai people who need to travel abroad, as well as the expat or those visitors who coming to Thailand. So, as we all know, if we can produce what we call herd immunity by providing vaccine, more than 70% of the population living in a certain areas, we can be allow them to travel without too much restriction. But I have to point out now, because of the knowledge about the vaccine that we have, we understand that even though you receive the dose of vaccine, you may be reinfected. So therefore, when you are to undergo any vaccine, you have to understand what I call efficacy and safety. Safety, if you are healthy, it should be quite safe for almost everyone. The side effect happen will be very mild or not severe. However, if you are having the high risk group, like you have autoimmune disease or immunosufficiency or CV disease, like lung disease, the injection of the vaccine may make the symptom of the patient become more severe. Therefore, I like to also to tell you now that before you're going to do any vaccine, you have to understand why you will need more than one dose of injection. The platform that vaccine has been produced is to make sure that the first dose is to give you the stimulation of immune system to prepare to fight against virus. And if we need the second dose to be given within 3 to 4 weeks, depending on the vaccine, to make sure that the effectiveness become more and more effective. Now, I do not want to spend a long time to give you lecture. So I would like to allow you to discuss and ask more questions. But before I move the topic of vaccine, I would like to suggest that the way that I see we can use the vaccine to be available for the expat. Now, good news is that the government has allowed foreigners or expats to register for the vaccine. But I'm not so sure now, even myself, that which kind of vaccine that you will be getting from the government. They will need some time to negotiate. And please understand that the government need to support the local people first. We are still having the vaccine issue even for the local people. But I will try my best to facilitate that the expat should be able to receive the vaccine. And also to make sure that the vaccine that you receive must allow you to travel under vaccine passport. So I like to suggest that if you have any question or more comment, please do so, so I can entertain you.
But they already gave some questions.
You want me to,
Okay.
Niels, do you want me to read the questions that we've provided?
We gave the questions already.
Where the
We
question?
sent-
Oh, you sent to me.
Right, Niels?
Yes,
Okay, 1 second. Here, a number of people submitted questions, so that way Dr. Kampon would have an idea, make sure he had whatever information
Yes.
we needed. Okay, first question. Will the vaccines be allocated first come, first serve? Or this is, I believe, specifically referring to expats. Or will they look at most vulnerable age and existing conditions first? Is there anything on that first question?
Okay. I would like to refrain for any political issue. So I will use the basic of scientific fact to answer your question. The Thai government aim to protect their citizens by focus on all people and patients who suffer from chronic diseases such as diabetes, lung disease, heart disease, and so on. And we aim to provide the vaccine to the citizens of Thailand starting from June, which is next month. Now, the issue is that the vaccine to be given to the Thai population will be free of charge because the government will need to be responsible. And for the Thai, the government is preparing two kinds of vaccine called Sinovac and AstraZeneca to be given for the Thai citizen from the month of June and also July. Now, they also aim to provide the support for medical personnel who will require immunization. So we are having also a problem about shortage of vaccine, and the Thai government is right now trying to make sure that most of the indicated group will receive the immunization within July. Now, for the younger generation, they will allow to register, but the vaccine will be provided to them probably earliest in August. Okay, so we hope that by the end of this year, we can provide the vaccine for the needed case in Thailand. Now, let's come to the economic situation, because Thailand needs to rely our income on tourists. So therefore, the Thai government is now providing the vaccine passport and also providing the so-called sandbox starting from Phuket, Samui, Pattaya, and Chiang Mai. So will require free vaccine. The vaccine that we will available to you will limited to only Sinovac and AstraZeneca. However, I have to tell you that in order to travel to European countries, USA, you may need to consider to use the Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson vaccine because that has been approved by those US and also in European countries. Okay. Now, so that's what I like to explain to you about what is it for and how soon you will receive it. They will start to allow you to register soon. However, to the request of expat community here, I would volunteer to help to allow you to just give us the name and also telephone contact
Email.
and email. And after that, we will negotiate with Pattaya, some of the private hospital and the local government and start to provide you as soon as possible. Just to explain again, Pattaya is a tourist destination that is very famous. The reason that I come here, because if I cannot help to support foreigners living in Pattaya and allow foreigners to travel to Pattaya, we will have problem about economical situation in Pattaya very seriously. So therefore, we will do everything together and we start to exchange information and make it sure that when you decide to receive the vaccine, you understand the risk and benefit involved. And just to remind you again, please pay more attention on vaccine passport because I would like to have the expat in Thailand or in Pattaya, whenever they go back home, they can come back to Thailand with vaccine passport and they should not have too much restriction in coming to Thailand. However, just to point out again, we are not so sure that how effective vaccine will be in the common situation. I like to warn you that social distancing, wearing masks, washing your hand will be something that you should continue to do it as a general precaution. So I think I'd like to start to answer that question by what I have told you. But please be patient because vaccine passport is new. And providing the vaccine to the expat also quite new and interesting idea. So therefore, we need to give you update and let you know what could happen.
Excellent. Next question. I think you kind of answered it. Will there be choice of vaccine and pick a hospital for particular vaccine? Again, this is referring to expat availability of vaccinations and I believe private hospitals. Obviously, if the government's providing it, you're going to get whatever vaccines available the day at the place you go, I would expect. But can you talk a little bit about or confirm that A, we will have pick of vaccines and B, we can pick the hospital where we will get vaccinated?
Okay. I'd like to answer your question as following. If we continue to have close contact, which I think Neil and his team can help to coordinate, we'll work out for the best situation for the expat, starting for those who live in Pattaya and their immediate family. You have lived in Thailand long enough to understand that Thailand also will need connection. And I also well connected and I like to work together with the local government authority. I have talked to most of them. Everyone agree and asked me to support expat because without you, we cannot have revenue coming from tourism And I also would like to see the opportunity that the tourists coming to Thailand will not be the same as before. So what we are doing now is to support what we call the wellness tourism, as well as turn the hotels into the healthcare facility. I also would like to tell you that we should not fight against COVID and stop. Just to tell you that what we have learned about COVID, it will lead to the need to take care of many diseases to be coming soon. For example, cancer, because of COVID, the patient lack of opportunity to be treated early enough. And we also now having a lot of patients who suffer from stroke, Alzheimer, and many other problems. So therefore, I would like to make sure that when we start to work together, I would like to volunteer as someone in Thailand that my business rely on medical tourism and wellness tourism. So all of you are my valuable customer, and whatever I can do, I would like to serve you, because I cannot allow you to come and travel without too much restriction. I am sure that most of your countrymen will not come to Thailand. So I will try my best to negotiate with our government parties, which I'm sure that most of them agree to support expat community. However, they cannot commit that you will receive free vaccine or free treatment, that's all. So if you are willing to consider to come and support, we can provide you with the so-called alternative vaccine that you may be able to choose. I would like to focus on the vaccine like Moderna, Pfizer, and also Sinopharm. The reason because all these vaccines has been accepted by World Health Organization. So it is able to travel more freely. So for those of you who will be in EU or in USA or Canada, I strongly recommend that you should try to focus on messenger RNA vaccine, which you have Pfizer, Moderna, and also in the future, you have Johnson & Johnson and maybe Sputnik, which come along. So just to explain you now that alternative vaccine will be provided by private hospital. And we have now be able to discuss with our government authority that Moderna, Sinopharm, and some other new vaccine will be available for expat and for those who would like to choose their own vaccine. And now coming back to the government, if you want to have the vaccine from the government provided, it's only going to be Sinovac and AstraZeneca for the time being.
Okay,
Any
next question. Someone asked about the rollout of AstraZeneca in Thailand, where I think there was a chart produced that showed from the government that showed how many were being produced. The question is that estimate of AstraZeneca vaccines available in Thailand based on everything going perfectly, or what is actually going to be allocated to Thailand no matter what? Because I remember reading there's a contract, I believe, to produce 200 million doses in Thailand, but many for export. So the questions related to, I think it was like 10 million a month or something for Thailand. And is that based on best case, or that based on Thailand gets theirs first?
Okay, like I told you, with this new kind of vaccine, it's become problematic. So let's start with the intention. The government has a good intention to provide as much as vaccine that Thailand will be needed. However, it's not easy to provide the vaccine. I will give you an example as someone who been working with the government and now become the retired doctor. Think about this way. If you go to provide vaccine, let's say about 100 million doses. If you calculate that every day we must be able to inject vaccine around 500,000 patients per day, which to me is not easy and probably not really possible. So even though we have the intention, how to implement it, it will be very difficult. And at the time that social media provide a lot of information, which some of the information are not accurate. So therefore, I like to warn you that you have to listen to the information that have publication to support it, so-called evidence-based. Because we now realize that in order to start our country to come back on economic point of view, we need to supply vaccine to provide herd immunity. And any vaccine that being provided, you should take opportunity to take it first. However, just to tell you that, suppose I, as a Thai doctor, will need to receive Sinovac because the government asked me to take it. I also will accept with the understanding that I will decide to take the messenger RNA as the next dose of treatment, because I would like to receive the vaccine that I believe that is more effective than the one that government is providing. However, you need to understand that for those who receive the first dose of any vaccine, if you want to repeat it, please wait about 3 months later. Otherwise, you may have additional side effects. And also for those who already being infected with COVID, according to research, we recommend that you can receive vaccination, but please do 3 months after you have infection as well. So that will make it safer. Okay, so that will be something that we will have more discussion once the vaccine will become available. So for today, I just like to confirm that I volunteer to support the export club and come and explain to you as time goes by. And I also will, when we have the vaccine available to you, I will tell you that before you receive the injection, you need to check your health, whether you may have side effect or not. That's also I'll be able to support, even by online consultation. So just please also become our member and we can work together.
Gotcha. Next question, I think you mostly covered. June 7th onward is when we can register in Chonburi, and they expect to start vaccinations in July. That's the first part. The second part you covered, which is Sinovac won't get you access without quarantine and all those things to the US and Europe. So but I don't remember this one. So maybe you could do this first since it's related to what you just talked about. AstraZeneca, if we get vaccinated with AstraZeneca, will that be sufficient for entry unrestricted to places like Europe and the US, and hopefully unrestricted, no quarantine access back home to Thailand? So if you could do that part first, and then also confirm the registration date.
Okay, so for the Thai government, if you been invited to register, please do so. But at the same time, if you would like to have our services, please also let us know that you also consider alternative vaccine. Okay, so that's what I like to tell you. Now, with AstraZeneca, it's still a bit controversial because of the safety data. So therefore, it may need some time for European government to allow the free reuse of AstraZeneca again. So this still on and off. So that therefore, I would like to confirm that from now, Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson should have no question about the vaccine passport.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, next question. So we covered travel, we covered which vaccines. You just also answered the question if you've had COVID 3 months before getting vaccinated. Oh, here's one that just came out. Somebody was listening to one of the radio stations this morning, and there was talk that Thailand, to make the amount of vaccine in country stretch, was going to split the time between doses from 10 weeks to 16 weeks. And also the amount of vaccine, of the actual vaccine per dose was going to be reduced so that the supplies can go further. Is that correct?
I think that one, I'm not sure the source of the information, but I'd like to tell you that Thai government is also trying its best to supply the vaccine. But I just remind you as someone who like the freedom of choice, even though I understand that the government is trying to help me, if they cannot provide me with the vaccine of my choice, I prefer to go for alternative vaccine channel for my freedom of traveling and my belief system. Now, the timeline that the government has created, it the same for most government. The action plan cannot be achieved for many reasons, like vaccine availability. And the most serious case will be about the safety data. In Thailand, I think there have been a lot of rumors and news about the serious side effect due to the vaccine. That's why many Thai refuse. So here again, I like to use the confirmed study to prove that it's really safe or not. My final comment about this question is that in general, the vaccine to be provided to healthy people, no matter how old they are considered to be very, very safe. Okay. Now, with those who already have existing disease, like clotting problem, heart disease, brain disease, lung disease, cancer, and so on.
Doctor, unmute yourself. Accidentally hit the button when somebody was coming in. You're muted. Unmute yourself, please. Unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're
Back
good
now?
now. Yep, we're back.
Okay, just coming back to the vaccine to be provided by any government. I think that they will have problem trying to fulfill their commitment because there should be many reasons involved. First, about the vaccine availability. Secondly, about the logistic approach. This is a thing that I think most of you never realize. If you are using the vaccine that need to be transported by cool condition, especially -70, it's going to be more difficult to maintain its stability. So therefore, for logistic purpose, I would prefer to use a vaccine that can be stored around 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. And on top of that, once the vaccine arrives, we should make the plan ahead of time to make sure that the vaccine dose that arrive must be distributed. The best is within 4 weeks. So that will allow the vaccine to become effective. And also, we would not have to worry about the vaccine which is outdated or expired. So that's the thing. Now, coming back to the freedom of choice, I do not want to have any discrimination, but if I could afford it, I would like to buy the vaccine that I like for use it for myself. My reason is that if I can afford to buy the vaccine, I rather to give the vaccine that the government going to give free to other Thai citizens who really need it. And having said that, when I select any vaccine, I will make sure that I understand the progress of the study to be reported. So therefore, with AstraZeneca, I still need to follow up the data first to make sure that it's going to be safe for me, for something like that. So I would like to tell you that the only way to be able to make the vaccine available and safe, we must learn to follow up the progress of the program very closely. And what I talked to you today, it may be different within a few weeks, but we must learn to be flexible. And last but not least for this answer, I hope that together we should win by working together. And especially for the expat community, we can help your countrymen to be able to visit Thailand. And I believe that when they come next time, the treatment to be provided will also be necessary. So hopefully, by the end of this year, we can provide many rehabilitation centers or many new treatment for what's going to happen.
Gotcha. I think there's two more questions. One, you pretty much covered it, but I'll just ask it maybe a different way. Sinovac, that's what's available immediately, or that's the first one that's available. If somebody's offered Sinovac, I've heard people say, get whatever vaccine you can get it as fast as you can. That's one school of thought, and worry about travel and all those other things later to protect yourself, because all the vaccines that have been tested, they all have different efficacies from their trials, but all of them that are out there prevent you from severe symptoms, and usually prevent, and also I think they've shown prevent you from being hospitalized. So the advice published that I've seen says, get whatever vaccine you can get the fastest you can get vaccinated. Other people are saying, and you kind of alluded to it, saying, hey, I want to personally, again, your personal opinion, not picking fights with anybody, that you want to personally get one of the mRNA vaccinations or the Johnson & Johnson, which isn't mRNA, that then gives you freedom to travel in Europe and the US. So I think you covered the answer, which is, hey, if you're going to pay, go for mRNA or J&J because you get the travel benefit. If you just need a vaccine because you want the immediate, the quickest vaccine is going to likely be Sinovac. That's the most likely one. And if you're worried about getting sick tomorrow, go get the first vaccine. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes, correct. And then just to keep in mind that for those who can be receiving Sinovac, it should be free from the government. Please take the chance to accept it. However, if you are not so sure about the safety profile, I suggest that you can also wait for alternative vaccine, which I can be sure that by July and August, you will be allowed to receive alternative vaccine.
That's the big one. That's good information, that we expect access to paid alternative vaccines in the July, August timeframe. It's not very long. Today's May 25th. Next
Yes.
week's June. It's not huge.
Yes,
Hold on
sure.
a second. If you're not talking, you should be muted. There we go. That's good news. Let me just see. Any more questions? One comment that came in, which is true, none of the vaccinations have been fully approved by the US FDA. Everything's operating on an emergency approval. Here's an interesting question that just popped up. You might know the answer. If not, that's okay. Someone said, is it possible if you get the first dose of the vaccination in the UK and get the second dose here, would you be able to get a vaccine passport?
According to the scientific fact, if you decide to take one type of vaccine, the first and second dose should be the same.
Correct. What I'm saying though is, let's say somebody's in Europe right now, is in the UK, and you're supposed to go what, 2 months, two months ish between doses. So they get the first dose today of, let's say they got Moderna or Pfizer. And then next month they come to Thailand, do their quarantine. And then the following month, which is late July or August, would be when they're due for the second shot. And presume Moderna, let's say they started with Moderna in the UK, and Moderna is available here in July, August, when they're due for their second shot. Would that be doable? Or is that, this is the first I've ever heard anybody ask this, but is there anybody considered this case, dose 1 in country A of the vaccine, dose 2 somewhere else, and would that enable them to have a vaccine passport and all that stuff?
Okay, in theory, that's very possible, but in practice, maybe some of the internal issue will cause difficulty. But for me, I'd like to tell you that when we were kids, we are forced to receive vaccine before we can enter the school. So I think of COVID very simple, that we must realize that if the world needs us to receive COVID vaccine, we do it with vaccine passport. And more important is, when you go to do the second dose, whichever country you are, just only told them that you already received the first one, and then ask for vaccine passport. In terms of the conventional vaccine, we also have batch number that can be traced back. So that can be reassured that by this online connection, we can develop the connection. So I'm sure that in the near future, you can do that.
Yeah, but at present, theory says yes. Practice, it hasn't been implemented. Good point. One more question that's related to getting the vaccine, and the fact that you made the comment you should wait 3 months post having COVID to get vaccinated, or you should wait 3 months post getting vaccinated with, say, Sinovac, and then maybe Moderna becomes available to you and you want to get a vaccine passport. So you said wait 3 months. Here's an interesting question. I hadn't thought of this one. Alan, thanks for the question. Should we get a PCR test before being vaccinated in case you have asymptomatic COVID without realizing it?
Okay, that even become the issue that we are debating now. Okay, in the near future, I think that we will learn more about so-called neutralizing antibody. Okay, let me tell you briefly. when you go to receive any vaccination, the evidence to prove the effectiveness is to make sure that your body start to produce specific antibody to COVID-19, which is called neutralizing antibody. It's now becoming possible in limited lab to do so. So if I want to do it for myself, after I receive the second dose, I will check my neutralizing antibody. If it increases, I can show to everyone that I'm successfully to be covered by immunity by giving the vaccine, not PCR. So if you want to show the effectiveness, remember the word neutralizing antibody for COVID-19, which is not commonly practiced now.
Okay, excellent. That was the last question that I had. So any final thoughts, Dr. Kampon?
Well, I also would like to tell you that maybe next meeting, I would like to focus on what if you are not able to receive the vaccine because you are not too severe to receive the vaccine, or you feel that you don't want to do it. So let me give you some idea that perhaps next meeting we can focus on. I believe that the best way to protect ourselves is to keep our immune system to be strong. And I have been involved with herbal development and many products for improving your immunity. That's going to be one of the topics that I recommend that we can start next time. I also would like to tell you that the lesson learned from COVID, it can create the treatment of many viruses. For example, we start to learn that COVID is related to HIV vaccine. So having said that, any vaccine that can destroy and treat corona or COVID-19 can also be effective for HIV, which become more deadly, and we just forget about it. Also, the other treatment concept that I look forward to will be hepatitis B and C, which are common for Thailand. So that comes the reason that we can move forward. I also believe that post-COVID syndrome, that means that we may suffer from stress, unable to sleep, are going to become more and more serious. So the next issue that I can present is how to take care of what we call post-COVID syndrome. And for today, I would like to thank everyone for your kind attention. And if you have any question beforehand, please send it forward to our team here. Thank you very much indeed.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And we'll have you back live and or online, and depending upon which is available to us, we'll coordinate through Niels. And thank you, Niels, for arranging with Dr. Kampon and team to, Niels came, we lost Niels temporarily. Hold on, I just submitted him back. I'm saying thank you and he wasn't there. Hold on. Wait for Niels, 1 second. You hear Niels?
Progress.
You back, Niels?
I'm back. I'm back.
I just wanted to say thanks for getting Dr. Kampon and coordinating. And if you have any final comments, up to you, Niels. Go ahead. You get the last word.
Okay, I think as Dr. Kampon, he said, take the vaccine you can get, but we understand if you take the Chinese vaccine, you have to wait 3 months after you finish the vaccination to take an alternative vaccine to be able to travel to America or Europe. Be careful about that, the time situation, if you need to travel within a few months or whatever, you have to maybe hold your horses for a month and take the right vaccine instead of going for a vaccine that won't allow you to travel. That's one thing. Second thing, register with the Thai government, but register also here with the PADIA Expat Club. That will assure you that you will get updated information about availability of alternative vaccines and alternative treatments. Also, we are talking about giving consultation to people before they take the vaccine. That can be done online. So that's an opportunity for that too. Then finally, Dr. Kampon has volunteered to come back next Tuesday, same time, same place, with additional information, because I think we are talking about an ongoing flow of information here, and we need all the people who have participated on Zoom to tell fellow expats out there about what you heard today, and also encourage them to register, encourage them to listen in on the recorded recording of this Zoom meeting, and to join subsequent Zoom meetings starting next Tuesday. So there's something to be done for all of us here to be serious about this matter and to get the best possible treatment available. And you heard Dr. Kampon, he also opened up the opportunity for preventive medicine, where we talk about alternative medicine to boost the immune system. So there's a lot of interesting information coming up in the pipeline. So first thing done, register your name and email. It is non-binding, but it means that you will be informed as soon as there's something positive happening. Okay, thank you very much all for now. And I'd like to give a very big thank you, Dr. Kampon and his team, because we are here in the room with more than Dr. Kampon. He brought a medical team with him, and he's very dedicated. I've been at meetings at City Hall with PADIA City Hall with him. He's a well-connected medical professional, and we are very lucky that that he has coming out of retirement to help the foreigners in Pattaya. Thank you so much, Dr. Kampon.
For giving your
Okay, thank you very much. And we will see everybody next week.
Okay, Swadee Cup.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Comment. Hold on.
Hey. Hey, this is Jeffrey. You gonna still meet, or are you ending the meeting?
Jeffrey, we've finished the meeting, all right, but there will be a recording posted in all of the groups, okay? So thank you for joining, just a little bit late.
So there's no discussion.
We've had the discussion.
When?
We started off at 11 o'clock and we just finished.
And there was discussion among the members. There was participation by the members, and I missed it. Is that right? I missed it?
Yeah, so there will be a recording posted, and we're just closing the meeting now.
Yeah.
right? And then again next week, same time, same place next week, all right?
Hey,
Sir,
Jeffrey.
I'm a professor who believes in participation by the people. And so that's all. I'm just surprised you don't have any discussion going on. That's all. About Pattaya